Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the town hall today. It's so nice to see so many people that came out for the event. Also, I know there's quite a few folks that are probably watching us from their apartments or their townhouses, and welcome to everyone. As you know, this is my first town hall, and I have some big shoes to fill with Michelle because she was great. And I'm just going to do the best that I can do and try and support you any way I can. One other thing I wanted to mention is I wanted to thank so many of you that stopped by and said hello to me since I started, and welcomed me and said that they had, supported me in any way, and if I had any questions. It's just nice to see your faces. So thank you for that. Before we get started with the town hall, we have a special presentation. Dave Trainer and Al Conti want to present to Michael. Well, not to Michael, but to the...
Your first act. We have a very successful apiary with support from a lot of people, including Morning Star staff. We have a wonderful mentor, Scott, who we couldn't do without. We've got about 60 residents that support and help with all the work in the apiary. And we have a lot of residents that thankfully buy our honey, so we thank them for that. We started out 3 years ago with 5 hives. The second year we bumped it up to 8, and last year we had 10 hives. Last year the spring was kind of wet and rainy, and we didn't get that much of a yield in our early extraction, but we made up for that in the later fall extraction. And so we were quite successful last year too, meaning that we're able to present a check. This check was made by, designed by Haunani and produced by Haunani, beautiful design, for $2,000 from our beekeeping account that will go to the Morning Star Good Samaritan Fund. Who wants to help?
Thank you, everyone. At this time, Lori's going to introduce some of the new residents that have joined us.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It's always my honor to introduce all the residents that have moved into the community since our last meeting in November. We have a nice big list to go over. So we're going to start off with Heritage Village. Some of these first few folks I'm going to be introducing are not here today. But nevertheless, we still welcome them. We have James and Alma McMahon. They moved into their home at 375 Freedom Circle on December the 1st, and they moved here from Macungie. We also have Richard and Ragna Brown. They moved into 373 Freedom Circle on December the 2nd, and they're from Franklinville, New Jersey. Charles and Judy Dickerson moved into their home at 379 Freedom Circle on December the 4th. They moved here from Easton. Karen Hahn moved into 385 Freedom Circle on December the 9th. She also moved from Easton. Mark and Terry Smith moved into their home 361 Freedom Circle on December the 10th. They moved here from Bangor. And we do have Doug and Judy Thorne here today with us. Doug and Judy, if you want to stand. They moved into their home, which is 383 Freedom Circle. They moved in on February 3rd, so they're just here a little over 2 weeks, and they moved here from the Bath area. Moving on to Moravian Hall Square, and I do believe all these folks are here today. We're going to start off with Aura Bunn. Aura Bunn's over here. Aura moved into apartment 211 on November the 25th. She moved here from the sweetest place on earth. Where's that? Hershey. And she is also a second generation. Her mother was a resident here as well. So we always like when we have those situations. We have Dean and Barbara Sandbrook. Although they're not new to Morningstar Living, they're new to Moravian Hall Square. They moved from their home at Heritage Village to apartment 414 on December the 5th. So we're very happy to have Dean and Barbara. They're over here in the 4th row. And we also have right in front of me lovely Marilyn Pisklak. She moved from her home, apartment 235 she moved into on December the 15th, and she moved from the Easton area. So, Marilyn. And I believe is Volker and Denise Oki here? They here somewhere? Ah, there they are, okay. They moved into their home, apartment 432 on January the 6th, and they moved here from the Bethlehem area. If they want to stand and say hello. And then we have Jim and Charlotte Briggs. Where's Jim and Charlotte? They're in the way in the back there on the left, or my left. They moved to their home, apartment 110 on January the 13th, and they moved here all the way from Nazareth. Okay. And one last one, we have Jim and Rosemary Potopi, because they're certainly last but definitely not least. They're also in the back there, and they moved to apartment 332 February the 3rd, and they moved from Wing Gap. And if anybody doesn't like their build, their daughter is Veronica in the business office, so you might have them to contend with, okay? Please welcome everyone. Take some time to get to know these new folks. We all remember we were all there at some time, so please welcome them. Take care.
Thank you, Lori. Okay, next up is going to be Danielle. She's going to update you on some changes to the app.
Hi everyone. So I just have a few little updates to the My Morningstar app. Most of these have been communicated already, and I know from the increased attendance at my last 2 monthly trainings that most of you have recognized some of the things that we're going to go over. So the first thing I want to talk about is advanced tickets purchases. This is something new that was launched in the beginning of the year to help kind of, I don't want to say streamline, but maybe improve the process of being able to secure tickets for the outings that we do to off-site events such as, you know, theater performances, museum trips, things like that. The reasoning behind that is to really to give Community Life an opportunity to purchase the tickets more responsibly. You know, by having a larger window of time versus just the usual, you know, 30 days with the sign-ups basically ending 5 days prior to the actual event. You know, it gives them the opportunity to make sure, number one, that they're able to get enough tickets for everybody who wants to participate, and that those tickets are, you know, together in the same group, not that you're scattered all across the State Theater trying to find each other during a performance. And also eliminates the risk of overpurchase. Sometimes Doreen would have to secure tickets before everybody even had the opportunity to sign up and kind of guess how many people were going to want to go. And, you know, there's an opportunity to lose money there, which is not a very responsible way to go about things. So we want to make sure that all of the funds from the department are actually going towards activities for you all and not just being wasted. So I know it sounded scary, it's this whole new process, everything's different, but it's really not that dramatic of a change. If you're used to going into the activities module of the My Morningstar app to sign up for an activity, advanced ticket purchases just have a separate listing that's going to show up probably about 2 months prior to when the actual event is. We're making sure that they show up over the course of a single month. You can use the search bar really quickly to find them by just typing in advanced ticket or advanced tickets sales, and it will quickly bring up all of the ones that are in advance. The event itself then will still be listed in the system, but it just won't have the registration button on that actual day of the event because the tickets have been secured prior. And then with that little bit of extra time in the process, you'll have the month that you can sign up for it, and then the following month, the charge for those tickets will be put onto your resident statement, and then, you know, the month after is going to be the actual activity. So I just want to highlight on the slides what you're going to see. So they're always going to say advanced ticket sales, so that you know when you see that activity in the listing, it's not actually happening at that point in time. But we do make sure that the title of the event and the date of it are right there in the title, and then in the description we have reminders that say, you know, reserve your tickets for the show on March 4th here. You know, you click the register button, you can sign up, and then at the end of the month when that registration closes, you'll be billed. Another new exciting thing that we've added, and this was based off of, you know, resident suggestion and feedback, in the important updates module, we've always listed, you know, ongoing COVID info. Luckily, COVID has kind of died down and there's not a lot of activity there, but there are other things that will, you know, afflict our neighborhoods here, whether it's norovirus or flu, or, you know, we're just coming through that season where that runs rampant. You know, so we did hear that sometimes, you know, folks from Heritage Village would come over here to volunteer or to visit somebody and then find out when they get to the lobby that you know, Applewood neighborhood was under restriction. So we have somebody in the Health and Wellness Department updating these numbers Monday through Friday to make sure that, you know, if a neighborhood is shut down for any kind of precautions, it'll be there updated, you know, weekdays in the app, so you can take a peek there before you make the trip over here. A few other things that we're addressing in the app based on feedback that we've heard either through my training sessions or, you know, just that you've let somebody know that you had an idea or a thought. We are going to do a trial run of splitting out the dining out signups between the two campuses. We've gotten a lot of feedback that it seems like Moravian Hall Square residents have been having a hard time securing a seat for the monthly dining outs. So starting in April, because the other signups were already in process, you're going to see two separate listings for the dining out trips that are going to be divided, that, you know, half the seats are available for mornings for Moravian Hall Square and half the seats available for Heritage Village to sign up. We've also heard some feedback that the staff directory was not always up to date, so we have put a new process in place to make sure that that's taken care of more timely. And even on the slide that I just showed you there with the event descriptions for the advanced ticket sales, in class yesterday afternoon we had a couple suggestions from residents as far as how to reword things, and that we neglected to put the time of that upcoming trip in the advanced ticket sale description. So those things are all being updated, and those changes will be live on the app this week. So I didn't want to, you know, get into the nitty-gritty of everything and go too deep into explanations of everything, but we offer plenty of opportunities that you can spend a whole hour with me and we can talk about all the things in the app and go into as much detail as you like. Monthly here in the Anniversary Hub, on the third Wednesday of every month at 1 o'clock, we meet for an app training class. It's funny that participation had been, you know, rather small, and it was usually these pretty small group sessions, but when we shake things up, I get to see lots of faces with me every month. So selfishly, I'm glad for that. So our next session will be March 18th. That's at 1 p.m. You know, we tend to focus on the activity signups, but we will go into anything, any questions you have related to the app, we will give attention to. And we're also have one scheduled, a training up at the Cooper Center. That's a little easier for all the Heritage Village folks to get to. That's going to be next Thursday at 1 p.m. And again, we'll go over, you know, anything and everything within the My Morningstar app. But as you're going through things, and if you have a question, you know, we're always here and available to take your calls. We do have, if you've come to my class, you get a nice handy sheet with a whole list of all sorts of people that you can use as resources to help you out with the app. And some of them are, you know, residents in your midst who are my trained trainer team, you know, but also staff across different departments who are familiar with the app and able to give you a hand. You know, but directly, if you have questions about the activities themselves, you can always reach out to Doreen or somebody on her community life team. And just for general tech support or any kind of questions about the app, I'm always here. So I hope to see a bunch of faces in the upcoming trainings so that I don't have to go and make more changes to the app to bring it in. Okay.
Thank you, Danielle. At this time, Matt is going to come up and give you some environmental updates.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. How is everyone? So I just wanted to bring to your attention, the first thing is we have purchased a new bus. It's a 14-passenger bus. It's a Chevy that we purchased from a bus company called Rohrer, which is located in Mechanicsburg. And with that being said, it's a 14-passenger bus, but it also has the capability of wheelchair accessibility. So it's actually a 12-passenger plus 2 wheelchair capacity as well. So we placed the order for the bus approximately a week ago, and it should be here within a 3-month period. With that being said, we will be retiring our 32-passenger bus, the big bus. So we're kind of excited to put that and retire it. And we actually got a trade-in for it, so I was actually surprised. They're giving us $12,000 for it. So that's part of deferring the cost of the new bus. The other thing, too, with this type of bus that we purchased, we do not have to require a CDL driver anymore. The funeral. So it will be taken out of commission approximately around May. And with that, we do not need a CDL driver anymore for any of these buses, which is a plus. It's hard to solicit people to drive these buses. And also, we'll be saving on insurance approximately $10,000 a year, because when you had the 32-passenger bus, it required an excessive binder on top of that. So we won't need that insurance anymore for the buses that we're driving. So as you can see, it's similar to the layout of the current 14-passenger bus that we have. That's a 2019 Ford Challenger. So it'll be the same. It'll have a lift on the side that will be able to access the wheelchairs and have accessibility for ease of movement into the back. Some of the other things that we're doing here, and I just wanted to give you a bit of an update of a few projects that we're working on directly. First is the MHS generator. We currently have an Owen generator that is approximately 37 years old, going on 38 years old, and it is time to replace it. So we solicited a company called BEI Electrical out of Bushkill. We used to work with the former owner. His name was Jim Rothenberg. He sold his business to them. He's been a contact and working with them as part of the transition of selling the business. So he has helped us put a plan in place to place this new generator, which is going to be going outside towards the greenhouse, if you're familiar with that, to the left. And with that, part of the regulation is we have to place the generator outside. Our current generators are inside for 2 of the locations. That's because at that time in 1988, there was no requirement for it to be outdoors. So taking that into consideration, we are placing it outside of the greenhouse. And what they're doing currently is running conduit inside as much as possible with the new electrical wiring and the new feed cables. And the plan next is approximately around March to April, they're going to be digging the underground conduits and the generator pads. So back in the pleasure garden area, we're going to have areas that we're going to have designated that residents are not going to be able to utilize for a certain period of time due to them wiring this generator and bringing in the pads and so forth. So we're excited for this. We're looking for the actual equipment to arrive here May 15th, and then they're looking to do their final wiring to prepare for shutdown between May 22nd and June 15th. So by the end of June, we will have a new generator that will run 3 different sections of this building. And then the last project, we have solicited a company called Spillman Farmers Architects to help us with looking at our residential living air conditioning units. Currently, most of residential living is utilizing what they call a PTAC unit to heat and provide air conditioning to their unit. Well, we're looking at a way that we could possibly put a different system in for heating and cooling, and instead of having these PTAC units, you would have either a split system or a heat pump or something different that we could relocate in the apartment. So, and also, people are looking for more flexibility with heating and air conditioning. These PTACs are just, they have to be where they are, they have to vent outside and so forth. So we're looking at different ways to heat and provide air conditioning to these apartments. And with that being said, we're also looking at our residential living fire suppression system. None of the apartments have sprinklers. And that, at that time, there was no requirement, and there still isn't a requirement only for new construction. But with this being said, when we're going to be ripping up soffits and so forth for duct work and things to that nature, we decided let's look at possibly putting in a fire suppression system into all these apartments. So part of that process is, if you see on the right is a hallway, we would be putting the sprinkler system in there, but we'd also have to be, we're going to be upgrading the lighting in the hallways and wallpaper, carpet, because it's going to be a total refurbishment when you do all this work. Those rooms in these apartment hallways have not been refurbished since 2014, 2015, 2016. So this is quite an undertaking. We're not looking to start doing any of this. We're just doing the study work to see what the possibility is and how much it would cost if we went this route. Next, we have Sue Capabianco, and she's going to provide you with some more operation updates.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, before I get started with the update, I just wanted to take this opportunity to say Happy New Year. It's already February. Can you believe it? We're already halfway through, or a little more than halfway through February. It's so hard to believe. But we did have a great year in 2025. The second thing I want to mention is the meaning of Dave Traynor and Al Conti presenting the check to Michael Daly, who is our new Director of Philanthropy. So please recognize Michael. I know you all received the announcement about Michael. And what a way to start your new role, where you're actually handed a check instead of asking for it, right? Okay, so the purpose of my update is to give you a big overview of the operations and how we're doing as it relates to census, revenue, and all of our expenses. So I'm going to start with the year-end results, and then I'm going to give you a few construction projects that are on the horizon, and these are actual construction projects that we're moving forward with, and then some upcoming events. So the first of which is, and this is as of the end of the year, December 31st, 2025. Our average annual census in residential living was 89%. Our average annual census in personal care, 95%. And the average nursing care residency occupancy was 97%. So these are really strong census numbers. And you can see, I think we budgeted for 92% in residential living, and I'm going to explain why we were running behind there. And most of it is attributed to this. We actually had an unprecedented number of turnovers in our apartments in Moravian Hall Square. We had 29 apartment turnovers. In 1 year, that is absolutely unheard of. I think at Moravian Manor Communities last year, they had 3. So when you think about 29, this means, a total renovation of an apartment for a new sale and the amount of time that it takes to do the renovation. So immediately starting in January, we started with transitions that occurred January 2025, which occurred throughout the year, and keeping up with those is a big task, not only from a sales and marketing standpoint, but also from environmental services in getting these apartments turned around for the next residents that are going to move in. We actually spent $1.42 million in renovations, and again, this is just on the apartments here at Moravian Hall Square, but we were able to generate $5.9 million in sales, thanks to Lori Schaefer, Christine Lukowski, and Liz Brandel. So that was an extraordinary year of entrance fees for this campus. At Heritage Village, we ended up with a few turnovers. of accommodations there. So our census in phase 1 as of the end of the year was 95%, in phase 2, 96%, phase 3, 95%, and then phases 4 and 5 are at 100% occupancy at the end of December, and phase 6 at 95%, which has recently, since January 1, turned to 100%. I think our last resident couple in phase 6 moved in February. So we are at 100%, but again, these are as of the date of December 31st. We had 3 turnovers at Heritage Village. We generated almost $7 million in new entrance fees, and basically we did $6.99 million of renovations. So, you know, it's a lot of money that we're spending at both campuses, and we have plans to do the same in 2026. From a resident revenue and expense perspective, and I know if Chris Hunt were here, he'd like to share the 25-page financial report that he puts together to arrive at these numbers, but these are the essential numbers. Basically, you can see that compared to our budgeted number of $31 million of revenue, we fell short at $30,713,000. But because we were able to maintain expenses and adjust our spending throughout the year, we were able to spend less than we budgeted in 2025. So our net resident gain really was about $810,000 better than budget, which is a better financial year than 2025 was, bringing our net operating margin to 7%, which is extremely good for a life plan community. Anything between 5 and 10% is excellent. So we're very proud about the financial results we had, and we hope to do better this year. Another thing that was an astonishing result is we really focused on our employee turnover. This is one of the strategic marathon goals for Unitas that I discussed last year, and I'll be giving you an update on the strategic marathon goals at the next resident town hall meeting. But you can see that in 2024, our turnover was 40%. Now, industry-wide, actually turnover in our field ranges between 40% and 70%. So this year in 2025, our turnover was reduced to 21%, which was extraordinary. As it relates to projects on the horizon, we are moving forward with planning for the additional accommodations and total renovations of Galilee House at Moravian Hall Square. This is part of another strategic marathon goal, which is called right-sizing or harmonizing the relationship between residential living and skilled nursing care. But it also involves the other accommodations in personal care and memory care. So I think I've shared this plan with you before. The goal here would be to really renovate our dining program. We're going to renovate the entire neighborhood, of course, but really when Galilee House was built, it was not really built to service residents the way we plan on using it and have been using it as we develop the concept of making neighborhoods home, where residents actually get actively involved in preparing meals with the staff that work there. So right now, the kitchen that we have in Galilee House is totally inadequate. And so we'll be renovating the kitchen, the dining room, and then we also will be able to add 4 accommodations where I've highlighted these stars, the red stars. So we're excited about this. We will not be doing construction in 2026, but Matt will be working with the architects to get plans submitted to the state for approval. And then, of course, another project that's on the horizon is the addition of a cul-de-sac development at the Heritage Village, or for the Heritage Village campus, which is occurring across the street from Phase 1 in Bushkill Township. And so we are still in the process of getting permits and approvals. We have a number of things that have to be addressed there, namely sewage, utilities, access, and obviously ingress and egress for emergency vehicles, et cetera. But basically, we closed on this property 2 weeks ago. So this is our property. We're responsible for it now, and we're hoping to have our unappealable permits and approvals by the end of spring so we can start construction in the summer of this year. And we are projecting for the 4 of 5 resident parties that have already reserved a site in this phase, we have projected move-in occupancy for spring, early summer of 2027. And then I want to mention some upcoming events that you should save the date for. We have our Volunteer Appreciation Day on April 22nd. We have our Take Your Child to Work Day on April 23rd. And while this is a Take Your Child to Work Day, we often get a lot of residents engaged in this. Last year, we actually had the children who are members of team members who work here go over to the Heritage Village campus and learn how to play pickleball, which was one of their highlights that they really liked. I think maybe the most popular thing was making ice cream with Chef Matt. They really enjoyed that. And then our Morningstar Living Golf Classic, which is going to be themed around the 250th anniversary of our country, is going to take place on Wednesday, this is a change, not Friday, on June 24th. And then, of course, our beloved Rockathon is going to take place on Tuesday, June 30th. Now, this is our watchword for 2026. A simple word that you might think is a direction, but it's more than a direction. It's our commitment to progress, innovation, and long-term value. And this watchword is one that I want all of us to get around because it really talks about every improvement we make, every idea we test, every challenge we solve moves us toward a stronger and more resilient future. And that's what you as residents are counting on us for. So on the count of 3, I would like everybody to say as loud as you can the word forward. 1, 2, 3. Forward. Yay. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. At this time, I'd like to invite Grace up. If you have not met Grace yet, she is our new chaplain. She's full of fresh ideas. She's very musical. She's just like a breath of fresh air. So she wants to talk a little bit about beating the winter blues.
Ooh, okay. Thank you, Kelly. Let me get the remote here, too. Yeah. This is it. Let me see. Okay, yay. So Kelly had approached me about a month ago to come up with something about beating the winter blues. So when the days feel short, caring for the winter soul, and it's about thriving, not just surviving the winter months. Oh, winter, whatever shall we do? I love the contrast between the springtime background and then the picture here. Especially this point of the year, we tend to feel like we're just kind of stuck in it. It's never going to end. But there are some things we can do. It is human to feel trapped during winter. These are scientific things. There's reduced sunlight. We have safety concerns about falls, fewer spontaneous outings, social isolation. We can feel a little cut off, a disruption of our routines. There's physical stiffness or chronic pain and the worsening cold. I know I have arthritis in my hands, and I use my heated steering wheel constantly. Yes. When autonomy decreases, the nervous system reads it as a restriction. So you're processing this as kind of being cut off. Even just from moving around from building to building or visiting your neighbors when there's snow, you feel this as a restriction. But these are just normal feelings that we have during this time of year. I encourage you to take a virtual vacation on your iPad or laptop or desktop computer. I love to watch these things. Travel logs, you just type in on YouTube wherever you want to go or whatever you want to experience. They provide those of us cooped up in the winter, a sense of escape and adventure. It also jogs our imagination, and your brain can't tell if you're actually there or not. I mean, I know you know, but just to encourage those images in your brain, it's a wonderful treat to your spirit. My daughter and I, we went to Germany last summer with the Bach Choir of Bethlehem, and we watched numerous travelogues on the different towns we were going to visit, and we got a sense of the food and the culture, and so on her mind was schnitzel, and we had to get schnitzel, and we did get schnitzel, but that's how we got that in our brain through these things on YouTube or travelogues. So how do we live well inside the limits that winter brings? And maybe, like I thought, it's maybe not so much beating it as it is thinking about restoring. So we want to try to do our best to restore light. I know some people have those, they're lights that have the full light spectrum, and those are supposed to help train our brains to not slip into that type of winter depression. Rhythm, doing your best to maintain your rhythm throughout the day. Movement, even the smallest of movement can help. As you know, it raises those endorphins, it gets our circulation going, it's really good for our bodies. Contact with others, and having a sense of purpose no matter how small it is. So writing and receiving letters is a boost to one's spirit, even in 2026. So pen pals, they build anticipation and hope, like, oh, I can't wait for the letter to arrive. It breaks up the long stretches of sameness. It gives the week some shape and creates future moments of joy. I have here today, I didn't realize we were going to have like the whole campus here today. I have a little bit of information on pen pals. So one company, both of these I participate with. I have pen pals. As a matter of fact, back in the 90s, I used to travel for a living extensively. This is pre-internet, pre-cell phones, what do we do? How do we keep ourselves engaged, especially when you're on the road? So at that time, I had 30 pen pals. What? So what I would do is I'd go to my mailbox, I'd get a stack of letters and get a stack of letters, and I had this little ritual or discipline where I just wrote one letter every single day. Every single day, I wrote a letter. And because I was on the road and traveling, that's what I did in my downtime. I just wrote letters. I always had a pad and paper and stamps and postcards and all kinds of things. I still have a couple of pen pals from back then, just a couple. So what I have here, one is called International Pen Friends. This is the application form. It's old-fashioned. You actually have to fill it out and mail it in with a check, if you remember what those things are. But I have some of those here. Again, you can Google this information and type it in and do it that way. And this is a really unusual company. This is called The Letter Exchange. They're based out of Minneapolis. I've been with them since the early 90s as well. What you do is you subscribe to a little booklet. It comes 3 times a year. But what's really interesting is you read the ads that are in the little booklet, and it'll have a number like 456-789. And then you write a letter to 456-789. And then you leave the address blank, and you just put in the lower left-hand corner 456-789. Then you mail it in another envelope. Hopefully you're putting in 2 or 3 letters in a bigger envelope. Then you mail it to the company. Then they forward it to that person, and then they write back to you. It's really interesting way of writing. So I ended up with a friend from Hoboken, and we've never met. And it's been like 35 years, and we still write to each other. So that's just a real treat. It really engages your memory, So what I do now, when I'm writing letters to my pen pals, I'm writing the same story to 3 pen pals. I'm just reflecting on what's happening. I'm telling them about the weather and things that are going on in my life. It builds bridges. It creates peace. Because as we all know, when you get to know someone else's story, you can't not like them, right? And encourages reflection. Like I say, I write the same letter. It reduces that sense of urgency. It helps us to slow down. It's a chance to both teach and learn, and it encourages thoughtfulness. So I'm a huge fan of pen pals, obviously. But this is a great way, it's an old-fashioned way to reconnect, to remain connected, even if there's 10 feet of snow outside. Hopefully the mail will still get there. And if you know the chaplain, that's me, you know I love knitting. So anything that uses both of your hands at the same time engages both sides of your brain at the same time. And it puts you in a natural state of zen, and I mean of peacefulness and calm. Have you ever met someone who says, I just love to bake? It just makes me feel so good? It's the truth. There's chemicals that are happening in your body when you're using both of your hands, when you garden, when you do Sudoku, or when you're doing knitting or crocheting or drawing or woodwork or any kind of craft. It's actually very healing and healthy for you and your spirit. So knitting helps with finger dexterity, hand-eye coordination. It naturally slows the breath. This is how I meditate and a lot of my praying. I knit for a lot of, well, not for a lot. I knit for charity. So 90% of my knitting is donated. So I always feel like I'm infusing my thoughts and my prayers into the garment that I'm making. It can slow your heart rate, it can lower your blood pressure, and it can lower cortisol, which is the stress hormone. I always feel better after I'm knitting, always. And and we have a knitting group here that meets on Wednesdays at 1 o'clock, and you are welcome to come and join us. Even if you don't knit, just come and hang out with us and talk. We are a lovely bunch of people, really. And take full advantage of what is already here. And I really shouldn't have to say this because almost every activity that I attend is packed. You know, like short day trips, shameless plug to the Bach choir, but we have the short day trips like Bach at noon. Attend a lecture. There was one just this week on the Jefferson swivel chair. I couldn't make it, but boy, that really looked exciting. Try a craft, even if you think you are not artistic. Another shameless plug. Come to chapel. Come on to chapel. We'd love to see you. And Lent is upon us. This is a season that invites reflection and gentle growth. Come and join the choir if you want to think about that. I did a sing-along up in personal care. They could be their own choir. They're that good. Really, like I'm not even speaking hyperbole. They were really, really good. So if you want to have like a connectedness ensemble feeling, come join the choir. That's a great way to express yourself. Like I say, come hang out with us in the knitting group. You don't even have to knit. Try Bible study. That's a great way to engage thought and your imagination. And come to a concert. We have something going on here or there up at Cooper almost every single night of the week, and there's some glorious performances. My birthday, I said to my husband, you know what I would really like to do? I want to come back here at 7 o'clock and take in that concert with that guy, the fiddler guy, or the guitar guy, and he was like, okay. So we did. So my daughter and my husband came and met me here, and on my birthday, we were here for the entertainment because it's that good. And we really enjoyed ourselves, and then we went to Melt in Bethlehem, which I highly recommend, and we got some decadent bowl of like cake and dipped it in the chocolate, and oh my. I highly recommend that for any time of the year. Oh my gosh, that was wonderful. And the library is where adventure awaits. So I've been in conversation with the Nazareth Public Library, and did you know that you can get your Nazareth Public Library card right here at Morning Star Living, right here at Moravian Square? Jackie Ellenberger is the one who you would see in the library. She has forms. You fill out the form. She gets it to the library. You get a card. Bingo. And then she'll do this for you. You can call the library and ask for a book, and if it's available, she'll go pick it up for you. And then you just go get it at the library. And then you bring it back to the library, and she'll bring it back to the library for you. But one of the things we're working on right now with transportation, this will probably be happening in the next couple of weeks, is to have regular trips to the library. Because we all know, yes, we love books, but those of you who love books, there's something about the browsing in the library and walking up and down the stacks and things like that. And often there's even activities at the library. But just for that change of pace, to just get from here to there and back again, I highly recommend. There's nothing like curling up with a good book. But as you know, at the library, there's all kinds of things. Media, digital, things you can look up, research. There's movies, recorded books, all kinds of things. And then I'm going to talk to Danielle. There's an app that will connect you to the library. It's called Hoopla. I use this app constantly, and that's how I access recorded books that I listen to on the way back and forth from work. But you can get magazines, movies, music, all kinds of things on this Hoopla app right in the safety of your own home. So it's a really... I just love these two things. It's the person who's just browsing, and I don't know if you've all done this. I've all stayed up way too late laughing or giggling, and I love the way the bear is really engaged in the book as well. That's like my little favorite part of that picture. So sitting near a window, this helps our mood. It helps our circadian rhythms because you're getting the light. And the circadian rhythm is where your brain tells you when to wake up and when to go to sleep. It helps our sleep cycles. It helps boost our serotonin. That's the hormone that helps us stay not so sad and helps reduce that heavy, foggy feeling. So all the things we've talked about. Come sit by a window. Bring a cup of tea or a devotional or write a letter. Or bring your knitting, or some quiet music, and just drink in the stillness, a time to receive the light. Even in winter, the light is still there. The light might be softer, but it's still there. It may be filtered through clouds, but it's still there. But if we position ourselves to receive it, it reaches us. Sometimes thriving in winter simply means moving our chair closer to the window. It's gentle, it's accessible, and it's free, and it gives us a daily anchor to just sit and breathe and have a cup of tea. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Grace. That was beautiful. Okay, now we're going to move on to questions and answers. We did receive quite a few questions this time, but the majority of questions were specific to a campus. So at the end of the town hall, I have handouts for Heritage Village and handouts for Moravian Hall Square that address the specific questions to that campus. The first question that we received that was general to both campuses is, now that the fire extinguishers are checked, are we going to be instructed on how to use them? And I'm going to let Matt answer that.
So we have a company called Murray Securus, our insurance company, that provides us with equipment for fire safety training that we provide for our staff as part of a regulation. All staff that work on our campuses have to be trained on how to use a fire extinguisher. So we actually asked to have this extinguisher equipment for 2 weeks. So we're looking at May 31st and the week of June 7th to provide training not only for our staff, but for residents on both campuses. So we'll provide a communication on how we're going to do that training. But Ken Cade, or a gentleman from our insurance company, his name is Tim Brown, will come here and instruct. And the way we do it is we set them up every half hour and have a group of like 15 or 20 people, and then you're able to put out the fire at the end. So you will have training and instruction, but be on the lookout. I'm sure by the next town hall meeting we have, I'll be able to provide the training days and times and how we're going to do it.
Thank you, Matt. The next question is personal care versus assisted living. I have the understanding that personal care and assisted living are the same thing. Many residents argue that personal care and assisted living are two different levels of care. Can you please clarify this subject? It's a very good question. Sue Capabianco is going to answer that for us.
Okay. As Kelly said, this is a really good question, and I think when the question came through, it had this little notation at the start that said, this isn't that important, but, and this is a really important question. So in the state of Pennsylvania, personal care and assisted living are two different levels of care. Although if you look at the continuum of care from a standpoint of looking at a line drawing independent living, personal care, assisted living, they are right next to each other. So there are a number of similarities, and the first being is that care in assisted living and personal care includes help and assistance, daily support with activities of daily living, which we call ADLs. So personal care here at Moravian Hall Square is a licensure that we use in Bethany House, where we have the suite style of living that we just renovated in 2024, 2025, and in Morningstar Hall, which is the 3-story building of apartments that are personal care licensed, and also in Galilee House. We have personal care licensure there. So what that means is that when somebody lives there, they're getting everyday help and assistance with ADLs. Those would be things like showering, grooming, toileting, whatever. And basically, when somebody's needs exceed what the licensure covers, they do have to transition to a higher level of care. So assisted living is the concept of having that daily help and assistance every day with ADLs, but with the philosophy of aging in place, meaning that as somebody's needs start to exceed what would otherwise be personal care level needs, they can remain in that accommodation and continue to get medical assistance. So that is the difference. Now, there are other licensure requirements, like, for example, our accommodations right now in Morningstar Hall meet the physical plant requirements that are associated with assisted living licensure. And that means that we provide kitchens or kitchenettes, private restrooms, private shower for every apartment in Morningstar Hall. That is not the case in Bethany House. As you know, we just added walk-in showers to accommodations in Bethany on the Whitfield side. But while we renovated the Hampton side, we did not add the walk-in showers. And none of the Bethany House accommodations have any kitchen or kitchenette. So there are some physical plant requirements that differ assisted living from personal care. But the main thing is that under assisted living licensure, the concept is allow the resident to age in place in their accommodation even when their needs exceed personal care and they need medical, truly medical health attention. So those are really the differences. So the answer to the question is yes, they are two different levels of care. And actually, as you know, Matt and I have been talking, we're talking about AL licensure in our apartments, looking at that over the years, the apartments here at Moravian Hall Square. What would that take to enable residents to remain in their independent living apartments for as long as possible? So I hope that answers the question, but I did give Kelly a chart that literally compares assisted living to personal care. And it's in both of the handouts for Moravian Hall Square residents and for Heritage Village residents. And you might be interested to know that there are very few licensed assisted living facilities in the state of Pennsylvania. In fact, there are only 100. Now, when we advertise, we often use assisted living. And I know a number of residents have asked me about that over the years. And the reason we do that is because people people that don't live here and work here like we do are not really familiar with the nomenclature or the licensure. So when you say personal care in an ad, somebody is thinking, oh, well, what is personal care? When you say assisted living, people know that it's more about somebody coming to you with supportive care and services. And that's the reason why we do that. We usually use it in the description of services, not necessarily in promoting a level of care, because we really can't promote that we have assisted living here because we don't have licensure yet to provide assisted living. So hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you all for all of your questions that you submitted. And as I said, I'm going to put the handouts out for you to grab when you leave for the happy hour. Welcome you to the happy hour. And then that way, some of the other questions that were asked will be answered. Thank you.